What's up guys, Etiquette Player here, coming back with a brand new NASCAR Heat 4 video guys, and today we will be talking about how likely it would be for there to be a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. But before we get into the video, shout out to my donators, NASCAR Fan 24, Brett Ludwig, Anthony Ortiz, Reverend Stream Store, and JJ Fan 48. Links to their channels will be in the description below, so without further ado guys, let's get started. Now, before we start uncovering my evidence on why or why not I think NASCAR E4 will or will not have a paint booth, I'm just going to let you guys know in my opinion on whether I think a paint booth will be in NASCAR E4 or not. And in my opinion, I seriously don't think a paint booth will be coming into NASCAR Heat 4. Now, before I start talking about the reasonings why I believe a paint booth will not be in NASCAR Heat 4, and before I start talking about the info backing my speculation, I just want to let everyone know that this video is just a speculation video on why I think NASCAR Heat 4 won't have a paint booth, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows that this is not a confirmation video and nothing is confirmed on if a paint booth will or will not be in NASCAR Heat 4. So yes, there is still a chance Heat 4 might get a paint booth, but this video will be about why I think Heat 4 will not get a paint booth with my reasonings and info backing up my claim. So now let's get into my first piece of information on why I think NASCAR Heat 4 will not have a paint booth, and this information is coming from a tweet that was tweeted out by Sean Wilson. So now these two tweets are coming from a guy named Parker and Sean Wilson, and they're talking about NASCAR Heat 3, but after I read the two tweets, I'm going to let you guys know why this backs up my reasoning on why there's a good chance NASCAR Heat 4 will not have a paint booth. So Parker went on to say, since we're talking about numbers, can we see more numbers in the game this time around? What Parker is basically talking about is, are we going to see more numbers for our custom cars in NASCAR E3? And Sean Wilson said, doubtful. People don't believe me, but that's really a NASCAR thing. We're only allowed certain numbers, but maybe we can figure something out. So what this basically tells us is that 704 Games is told by NASCAR what numbers are allowed to be used for their custom car customization, and to be honest, this is a problem, including if we want a paint booth, and that is because you cannot really have a full complete paint booth when you're only allowed to use a limited amount of numbers. So we all know what a real full complete paint booth is. We had it in NASCAR 14 and NASCAR 15, and you see them in some modern racing games like Forza and Gran Turismo Sport. And what these racing games all have in common with their paint booth is that you can add decals to the cars at any size, and you can add a text option. With the text option, you can type out any word or multiple words and put it on the car at any size. But the problem is that you can also type out numbers and put them on the car at any size. So, for example, if I want to type out the number 12, I can, and I would be able to put it on the door of my custom car. And what that does is it makes my custom car look like its number is the number 12. And what that does is it affects NASCAR's limitations on what numbers are allowed to be on custom cars. So there is our first problem right there. Now I know it's not 704 Games' fault, okay? I know it's a NASCAR issue, and NASCAR gives 704 Games the numbers for the custom cars. I totally understand that, but if we want a full complete paint booth like we see in Forza 7, Gran Turismo Sport, even in NASCAR 14 and NASCAR 15, 704 Games is going to have to get past this issue with NASCAR limiting which numbers are allowed to be on the custom car customization, because all what's going to happen is we have a full paint booth, people will just, put the text of what number they actually want on the side of their car. Let's say, once again, for instance, number 12, if they want to drive the number 12 car, they'll just type out 12 and put it on the side of the car, because you could do that in a full complete paint booth. So that's one hurdle 704 Games is seriously going to have to get past, and that's fixing the issue with NASCAR on them limiting which numbers are allowed to be on the car for custom cars. Now, for the people that are going to ask, well, why did we have a paint booth back in NASCAR 14 and NASCAR 15, and why can't we have a paint booth now? Well, the reasoning is pretty simple. It's because NASCAR's licensing has become more strict over the years for their NASCAR video games, including for the NASCAR video games that have the NASCAR license. Now, for what I'm about to talk about in this part of the video, I don't know how much this could affect us from getting a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or future NASCAR Heat games, but it seems like a possibility that this could play a role into us not getting a paint booth, and it's because people used to put profanity and inappropriate things on their custom cars, and the possibility of that happening again if 704 Games adds a paint booth are pretty high. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this now is because one day I was scrolling through Reddit, and on a Reddit post in the comment section, I saw people talking about how back in NASCAR 14 and NASCAR 15, people used to put inappropriate things on their custom cars using the paint booth. And another person responded saying this is a possibility why nowadays present day NASCAR games do not have a paint booth. And it really got me thinking how much of a possibility this could play into present day NASCAR games not having a paint booth. And to be honest, it actually could play a huge role in why present day NASCAR games don't have a paint booth. And it's because NASCAR doesn't want their stock cars in real life and in video games to have inappropriate things on their cars. Now, I know it's not 100% that this could be a contributing factor to why 704 Games does not have a paint booth in their NASCAR games, but from the looks of it, this could possibly be another contributing factor to why we don't have a paint booth in present day NASCAR games. Now, is it impossible for 704 Games to add a paint booth into NASCAR Heat 4 or future NASCAR Heat games? The answer is no. And the reason why I'm saying that it is not impossible for 704 Games to add a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or future NASCAR Heat games is because they mentioned it in the survey. 704 Games would not mention something in a survey if they did not think it was possible for them to add it into a game. Yes, I know I'm going back to the survey again. I seem to always go back to the survey, but the survey is actually giving us some clues and some details on some of the topics that I am talking about. So if 704 Games seriously thought it was impossible for them to have a paint booth in future NASCAR games or in NASCAR Heat 4, they would not have mentioned it in the survey. But since they did mention it in the survey, it's obviously possible that 704 Games thinks that it is possible for them to add a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or a future NASCAR Heat game. Now, do I think 704 Games could possibly add a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or future NASCAR Heat games if there was no licensing problem? The answer is yes, because the problem is not the fact that 704 Games cannot add a paint booth into their games because they don't know how to add a paint booth. The problem is because of licensing. Me personally, I think down the line with their NASCAR Heat games, I think we are going to get a paint booth. Maybe in NASCAR Heat 5 or NASCAR Heat 6, but I just don't see us getting a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 because of licensing. We know that 704 Games knows how to add a paint booth into NASCAR Heat 4 because one, they mentioned having a paint booth in their survey. And 704 Games would not mention something, including something that has to deal with possibly adding new things to future NASCAR games, if they did not know how to do it. So yes, I very easily think that 704 Games could add a paint booth into NASCAR Heat 4 if there were no restrictions on what they could and could not add into the NASCAR games. For example, which numbers are allowed to be added to custom cars and which numbers are not allowed to be added to custom cars. So yeah, I really think 704 Games could easily put a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4, but due to NASCAR's licensing, they are not allowed to at this point. Down the road, will we see a paint booth in NASCAR Heat games? In my opinion, yes. I just don't think we will see one in NASCAR Heat 4. And it's not because 704 Games, once again, cannot add a paint booth because they don't know how to add a paint booth. It's because of NASCAR's licensing and restrictions on certain things that are allowed in a NASCAR game. Now remember, this is not a confirmation video. Nothing is confirmed on if we will get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or not. So yes, there still is a chance that we could get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. It's just, in my opinion, due to how licensing is, I just personally don't think we'll get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4, even though I know 704 Games could easily add a paint booth if they wanted to, because it's obvious that they know how to add a paint booth into a racing game. It's just because of licensing, in my opinion. I just don't think we'll get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. I think we'll get it in a later NASCAR Heat installment down the line, like maybe NASCAR Heat 5, maybe NASCAR Heat 6. Who knows? But who also knows? We can still probably get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4, because remember, it's not confirmed that we won't get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. It's just, in my opinion, I just personally don't think we'll get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. But remember, nothing is confirmed on if we will get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4 or not. So that will be it for today's video, guys. Thank you guys all for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to smack that like button for more NASCAR Heat 4 news videos, because once NASCAR Heat 4 news does roll around, I'll be uploading videos left and right on the news once I am able to get the information. Also, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to smack that like button and comment down below your opinions, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on if you guys think we'll get a paint booth in NASCAR Heat 4. So thank you guys all for watching. Remember, if you guys are new, don't forget to smack that sub button for more NASCAR Heat 4 news videos, NASCAR Heat 3 2019 DLC videos, NASCAR Heat 3 2019 DLC live streams, GTA 5 NASCAR live streams, and Project Cars 2 live streams. So thank you guys all for watching. Remember, don't forget to like this video if you did enjoy it, and comment down below your opinions. And once again, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video or in my next live stream. IDK out.
And I got this soul.